Alright, we all know what happened at the Oscars, and I'm not going to make a video going in full detail about it. For those not in the know, or those watching this video much later on, actor Will Smith slapped comedian Chris Rock for a joke at the expense of his wife during the Oscars. And that's the amount to which I care. It's dumb, but like for the video I did last week about Vosh, ContraPoints, and Cat Black, let's take some distance away from the celebrities and talk about the interesting questions that all of this brings up. Once again, I have to admit that I care very little about this. To me, this seems a lot like a very pointless effort. But, that's my hipster vibes for you. I don't care about celebrities. But you know what? Let's take people seriously and look at why they talk about this kind of thing. Why people care about this. A lot of this is about bullying. Some people think that this was an act of standing against the bully and therefore the slap was warranted. If we take that interpretation for granted, we can understand the action, though I don't know if it's an appropriate reaction in this case. Even if it was bullying, because I can find evidence of Chris Rock joking about Will Smith in the past, I don't remember seeing Will saying anything about it. And maybe I think this because they are adults worth millions, but there's a point where you should say something before resorting to assaulting someone. I could see myself agreeing with that sort of reaction coming from kids in the playground or adolescents, but all this seems pretty childish to me. Not just on Will's side, because if he did complain about it to Chris before, the comedian is also in the wrong. For one of the opposing arguments, we have the one centered around offensive humor and the right to making jokes like these without any violent reactions. And those arguments can have a lot of problems, mainly in how we define what a joke is. There's a point where you're not making a joke anymore and you're just insulting someone in a witty way. Should we consider that an insult or a joke? I don't really have an answer to this, mainly because I find wit very interesting, and I'm not against some witty insults when it comes to humor. But I can't see the arguments when it comes to the limit of this kind of humor, since it can quickly degenerate into pointless edginess or performative cruelty. And those we see very often on Twitter, and it contributes a lot to why the platform is really, really toxic. Finally, the other take I've seen really often is that all this could be faked, which, while there is a chance, I won't bother going into all the conspiracy theories about this, because of course there are a lot of them. If we abstract the conspiracies, we can see a more interesting point behind that. And it's that we don't really care. All this happened between millionaires in one of the richest events in the current world. Any drama is good publicity towards the event. It's there I want to talk about parasocial relationships. For those who don't know, these are when you either admire or hate someone without them knowing you at all. Good examples for this are rock stars and YouTubers. And yes, it also is when you hate someone. Parasocial relationships are not bad to begin with. They can help against racism and bigotry when it comes to certain movie characters. It's been proven that they can be the equivalent of having a minority friend, and that really helps. Or when it comes to politics YouTube, they can help someone see arguments they wouldn't look at otherwise, because it's like a friend giving you some criticism. You're much more likely to listen to it. There is admittedly a certain danger to it, but it's not bad as a whole. The problem comes when this relationship is the only thing people care about. When there is no criticism to that worldview allowed in one's mind, or no criticism to that person in one's mind. All in all, the entirety of the first part of this video is pointless, because in the end, it's just some guy that slapped another person on TV. That's why we should try to elevate the conversation to topics that it touches rather than focusing on the meaningless team sport between who's right and who's wrong. Else it will obviously create some animosity between people who disagree on who's guilty despite it not mattering at all. Hence, the necessity to move to a broader conversation. I tried to do this last week, But today, we have an even more obvious case of it. In the end, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong there. It's a bit of entertainment, but that's it. If we manage to move away from the personalities involved, we can avoid the team sport and talk about why someone can be right or wrong in any situations. Asking those questions in a broader way allows you to think more about morality, humor, and free speech. It allows you to understand broader ideas. And I guess that's why I don't care much about celebrities. I think they lower the quality of our debates when they are the center of it. Alright, rant done. Be kind to each other.